Welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. I'm Jacob Dahlin. Today's guest, Oskar Brandstrom, nephew of previous guest Jens Brandstrom, now the head coach in Köping. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Jacob.
So today's topic, we're going to go straight in. Well, we're not going to go straight into it, but I think the reason I wanted to have you on the podcast is because you're currently in the middle of your bachelor's degree in business, and just recently, well, I guess no, you're still playing.
Yeah, still playing.
But at maybe not at the as high of a level as you did before. But we want to talk about, the topic of combining university studies and hockey in Sweden. How does it work? How does that differ than the U.S. And somewhat Canadian university college sports and the challenges with that? So let's start. So geographical lesson of today. You are from Härnösand.
Yep, Härnösand.
So now, where is Härnösand for those who don't know?
In middle Sweden, close by to Sundsvall, which most of people recognize. So I'm usually tell the people I'm from Härnösand, but close to Sundsvall, and then people.
Yeah, what I remember, so it's on the east coast, and I remember driving over Härnösandsbron, the bridge in Härnösand.
Exactly. Yeah.
And a little bit here, so I did a little bit of research, not just about, and I think Elite Prospect is so good. You come from a hockey family. We already talked about Jens, but his brother, your dad, Greger, I think you told me that he was mainly a soccer player, but he did play for IK Älgarna, which means Athletic Club Mooses.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a long career. Not a long career, according to Elite Prospects, but
not a long career. As you said, used to mostly play soccer, but played. What he tells me, he was pretty good at both hockey and soccer. But soccer was the main thing when he grew up. So
was he involved as a coach when you grew up?
Yeah, both in hockey and soccer basically when I started playing both hockey and soccer up to when we was 15.
Yeah.
So pretty long time. So I had him since I was a kid.
Yeah. What other sports were you involved in? So soccer and hockey?
Yeah, mainly soccer and hockey. I tried a couple of more sports, floorball, call it, handball.
Okay, European handball for the American audience. If you say handball, it means something completely different over here.
Okay.
Awesome sport. No cross country skiing or anything like that.
No, nothing like that. Yeah, just hockey as a winter sport.
Yeah. And then the other interesting, just like I am, you got a twin brother, and Kim that also plays or played.
Played, yeah.
Yeah. So, and then I'm looking at your Elite Prospects, a pretty long. So I guess you stayed in Härnösand all the way till gymnasium.
Yeah, yes, the year before actually, we started playing in Timrå at I think you call it under 16. I don't know how just before the year we were starting the gymnasium there.
How far is Timrå from Härnösand? Well, Timrå is in Sundsvall, right?
Yeah, Timrå is between Sundsvall and Härnösand. So basically you got 20, 25, 30 minutes drive between Timrå and Härnösand. So we went back and forth for a whole year. Went to school in Härnösand and played in Timrå under 16.
Yeah.
for 1 year before we moved to Timrå whole time with the and went to gymnasium there.
All right. So interesting. Since I'm a twin, but me and my twin brother are not very alike and took very different paths in life. But it looks like that. So were you guys roommates and stayed together, or were you guys?
Yeah, we lived together for 4 years in Timrå. So we had a 3-room apartment where we stayed, and yeah, we most of the time we loved it. But as you can guess, we had our difficulties sometimes. But uh, as it always, it worked really well. We enjoyed it. So yeah.
Yeah, what was it? So what was if let's talk a little bit about your junior. So you played there. I mean, Timrå at the time, so this was starting from 11, 12 through 15, 16. What division were they in then? Were they in Allsvenskan or were they in the SHL?
SHL.
They were in the SHL. So
Yeah, they were.
the real deal. And how was so you played J18 Elite. Of course, it's changed name to now Region, and then
Yeah.
J20 Super Elite. What do you remember from that time, from a hockey perspective?
The level of both 18 and 20 was really high. You were competing among the best teenager in Sweden at the time. Timrå, we were like you can say not a top team, somewhere in the middle. So um, yes, I have only again a good thing to say about it. We, as I said, the level of the hockey level was high, real
Yeah,
high. So it's hard to describe. You see juniors often as a pretty, how can you say it? You don't expect the level to be that high.
yeah.
You can say.
How was it with any so the team that you were on then, was there any memorable, like this guy is going to be a phenomenal athlete that is going to go pro, or anybody you remember from that time that were like a standout?
Yeah, obviously, Elias Pettersson.
He was on your
Everybody.
team?
Yeah, he's 2 years younger, 3 years younger than me.
Okay.
I'm born in '95. He's born in '98. He was outstanding when
Even then.
even then. I played. I think it was the year, my last year in Timrå there, 14, 15.
Yeah.
I played in under 20 team, and he has recently started gymnasium, so he played in under 18. But at the end of the season, the coaching staff wanted to give him a shot in under 20 team.
Yeah.
I think he played like 5 or 6 games with us, and record I don't remember, but let's say he scored like 13 or 15 points in those 5 or 6 games. So he was pretty outstanding back then as well as he is right now. So I gotta say him.
All right. So how was that then? Okay, you're playing so you go from a smaller team, you go into was it NIU then? Was that how it was called when you went there? The hockey
Yeah,
gymnasium? Okay.
yeah, exactly.
Because some people that I've talked to, the designation of NIU versus LIU came, I don't know when they started, but it's one of the top gymnasium programs, one of the top junior programs in the country.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're coming in and you're playing with people that are now superstars in the NHL and so on.
Yeah.
What was the compete level in practices and games there when you were there, and how was it to play and compete with your twin brother?
Uh, it's fun. Basically, only fun. I'm defender, and he is centerman or forward.
Yep.
So we didn't compete among the same spot. So if we would have done that, I think it might be. I think I would have a different feeling about it, but the compete level was high. It's a different level from what you were used to
Yep.
playing in your youth. You're switching from just having fun to having fun, but at the same time compete among 22 other people, guys,
Yep.
on the team to make a spot to prove yourself. So that was. It kind of took a little while to get used to, but when you were getting used to it and everything like that, it was only fun. Those 3 years, I would say probably the best 3 years of my life, I think, if I look back. So
Yeah.
just the only good memories.
So and then so it looks like here your last year, it looks like on Elite Prospect that you got to play as an overager in 15-16 when you in a few games, but
exactly, yeah.
But your last year as a junior, so I guess you graduated. So let me see here, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13, 14 was your last year of gymnasium.
Exactly, but
you
you are
ended up
still a
second.
junior a year after your gymnasium, your graduation.
Yeah.
So you're basically juniors for 4 years.
Yep.
But you graduate after 3 years.
Yeah. So did you have any thoughts about after your graduation from, or your examen, your graduation from high school, what's the equivalent to high school or gymnasium, any thoughts about leaving to go to another program?
Yeah, thought about moving to try playing in juniors in over there, as you say, in North America. I had a friend, Martin Melberg, who went there and played. So of course you think what's going to be the best for you and everything like that. But at the end, I felt like trying to give Timrå one more year at least was the right decision then. So I probably stuck with that and went from there.
Yeah, and I can understand. I'm looking here and I'm reading between the lines, and I can see two reasons. One, yeah, you're playing with Elias Pettersson, he's a huge talent coming up, but also I would imagine you're playing 14 games in Hockeyallsvenskan, which is the second league in Sweden, I guess. So did they drop down from
They
SHL?
dropped down in I think the season 12-13.
Yeah,
I think.
Did that open up, because they did that open up a bigger ability for you to get a spot versus playing in the SHL?
Yeah, of course. If they were still playing SHL, I wouldn't have a chance to get a spot because when they dropped down to Hockeyallsvenskan, I think the 1 year older than me, they graduated that year, I think. It was, yeah. And I think they probably, I think 6 or 7 guys got a spot in next year in Hockeyallsvenskan. So it made a huge difference, a huge opportunities for us to actually stay and play in second highest league in Sweden. So of course that was I wouldn't say at the time it was not the fun, obviously, to see your team drop down to second league, but in a long perspective, if you trying to look at yourself, it was probably a good thing.
Yeah. And I see one guy that went pro, Victor Olofsson. played in Buffalo on that roster that year when you played. I
Yeah,
guess,
he was on loan from Mudo at the time, a couple of games.
yeah, pretty
I
impressive.
think.
But he still plays in Buffalo. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Um, so, all right. So, my next series of questions, which is really, I mean, we've talked to several other people on here about how hard it is to go from juniors to establishing yourself in as a pro in Sweden. So now you're finished. So you go 4 years. You stay your last year in J20, and then you also get to play some in Allsvenskan. And then what? Walk me through kind of your process here of the next year. I guess they're still in Allsvenskan, but then you get loaned out here to Härnösand and Sollentuna, and
Yeah,
and
and Kallinge.
Kallinge Ronneby.
Exactly.
So you become kind of living in a suitcase at that time.
Yeah, I did. It was a different kind of season for me. It was up and down, a lot of moving, as you said. But if you come back to your question, there, the difficulties probably, to playing in the highest junior league, and then you obviously go from juniors to senior. It's harder than you think, harder than you can imagine. Probably most of us are not ready mentally for
Yeah.
what you think you're playing at the highest level in the juniors, and then you think like, it can't be that hard to go to senior, but it's really hard. um, it's a way different type of game. You can't compare them both. It's way
So
too different.
what was your mentality then of being loaned out or not getting I would imagine that you're shooting for a spot to stay
Yeah,
in Hockeyallsvenskan and make that roster. But in reality, what is it? One or two, maybe one spot as a defenseman that they're looking for. And then there's five of you, even from your team, that are, or three or four of them maybe,
mm.
that are competing from it.
Yeah. Yeah, as you said, yes, if you just look at that season, it was up and down. A hard season for me mentally.
Yeah.
Trying to make the roster. I think that year it was me and another guy from the juniors who had a contract, so we were like competing for the same spot.
Yeah.
And it was up and down. But when I look back at it, I've gained so much mentally from that season, which I carried among the year after that. So at
What
the
about your
time,
brother?
yeah.
What about your brother? How was it to have your brother there? Did he get to, who got called up first to Allsvenskan?
He didn't play in Timrå that year. 15,
Oh,
16 was his first season in Sollentuna, I think it was,
oh,
or first, I think.
okay.
So he moved to Stockholm. 15, 16, I think it was. Yeah.
So he left after. So he finished 4 years there as well, and then moved on to Sollentuna in Stockholm.
Yeah, exactly.
So did he get at the 14, 15, the last year of juniors? Did he get a shot like you did in Allsvenskan?
No, he didn't. He
How
didn't.
was that between two brothers? Like, okay, you got the shot, I didn't.
Yeah. Basically, he was just happy for me. We have that kind of relation between each other. Just happy for me, and I would been the same for him if it was the other way.
Yeah.
But just happy for to see one of us succeed to move up to what every guy competing to reach the goal and play for the A team.
Yeah. And then the two of you kind of split from there. He went to Sollentuna, you stayed, but then you were kind of up and down and moving all around.
Yeah.
And then you ended up, so let me, before we move on to kind of like your life as a semi-pro, or and balancing that with work, when you were in gymnasium. So let's talk academics, because that's kind of the main topic of this conversation. How was it for you to go to hockey gymnasium, which is a combination of intense training and hockey development? And then what was your program that you studied academically in Timrå?
Economics.
Economics. Okay.
Yeah.
And let's talk about in Timrå, did you have, because every NIU doesn't necessarily have the same type of academic programs out there. Your teammates, what was their, what different degrees in high school, or concentrations in high school did they study?
I think we had like probably 4 or 5 different types. So
How many of them went the kind of the vocational route, big, or like construction, HVAC, plumbing?
probably 50 or 60% of us,
Yeah.
they study electrician.
Okay.
Most of us, and some of us, we were like 4 or 5 people studying economics, and 3 or 4 guys studying. I don't know how you say it in English, but samhällskunskap.
Okay. So it's more the social science or the,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
yeah. All right. So I'm curious here. And what did your brother, did he go economics too?
yeah, economics too.
All right.
So we like stick together there. Yeah.
So here's the first step kind of in the, I guess from an academic standpoint, what made you choose to go kind of the college prep route rather than the vocational route from an academic standpoint?
You talking to why like starting to play in team and everything.
No, I'm just talking, why did you, instead of choosing perhaps from an academic standpoint the easy route where 50-60% are going to go the vocational route of being an electrician or a plumber, why did you go the quote unquote harder academic route of going economics?
Basically based on my interest, honestly. The types of degrees we were choosing among was just a better fit for me. I wanted to study something I had an interest in, and could basically build something from in the future.
How influential was your dad in
Nothing,
that?
nothing
Nothing.
at all. No, nothing at all.
That's it. What about
Honest.
your mom?
No, nothing from our parents. I think they pretty much knew the direction we wanted to go, based on our interest and how we are as a person. So they didn't, you know. Of course, they gave us advice and everything like that, but they didn't tell us to what we're going to study or anything like that.
Yeah. So what was your how well did you do academically while you were in gymnasium?
Pretty well, I think. I would say average,
Yeah.
probably.
I don't know. It's just a really interesting kind of, when you're 16 years old, you really don't have a clue what to do and where to go. And it's
No.
easy to go the route. I look back when I was in college, I chose the vocational route for a year, and then I decided, what am I doing? And then I
Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to I went the science route and went to Technisk for a year, and then I came over
Mm.
to the United States. But uh, but I think that it's an easy, when we get into this discussion about university studies and how few players that's kind of that choose to go to college
Mm.
and study university in Sweden. And I think a lot of that kind of comes from even going back to, if you're an athlete, it's tough. and it's much easier to go the route of, you know, the vocational route. It's not as demanding. You don't have to study as much. And how that kind of sets the path. If you go that route, it's very, very difficult to then change direction and pivot later in your career. But because you did that, now when you graduated, all right, so let's start talking about this. You finished with your degree, and then you stayed for another year. So now all of a sudden, all right, good, took my got my diploma, and now we're just focusing on hockey.
Yeah, it was all about hockey, all about getting trying to get pro, basically. You know, that was the one and only thing in your mind at that time. So basically,
I could imagine a few other things that may have been interests as well, but we won't cover that in this episode.
Yeah, I think we leave that. But yeah, basically, you know, all about hockey those years, you know, trying to make a living.
When did you get your, this is another interesting question I have, is when did you get your first job, aside from, so I would imagine when you're living in a suitcase playing for this team and that team, I see you ended up playing in Hockeyettan, which is the third division. So you got a contract 16-17. You played 3 seasons in Östersund, which is also up north. And, you know, put some decent numbers up there as a defenseman, specifically 12, 17, 15 points per year. Did you work outside of hockey at all during those times?
Yeah, I did. We were working 5 hours a day, from 8 to 1, I think it was, during that time, and went to the arena to have some lunch, and then we basically had our ice practice and everything from 14:30 a day to 5 or 6 o'clock to afternoon at that time. So work a couple of hours a day, and then it was all about hockey the rest of the day.
Yeah, but I mean, and life as a pro, I mean, Hockeyettan is considered a professional league in Sweden, but contrast that with Allsvenskan or SHL. I mean, from the salary isn't as big, but you're still traveling quite a bit.
Yeah, you do, especially when you play up north. You have a long bus traveling, and basically you play and live like you're playing in SHL or Hockeyallsvenskan. So basically, the amount of time you spending on the traveling or everything is pretty much the same. But as you said, the salary is not near at that level.
Yeah. Did you have teammates then that were, you know, they had families, and, you know, I mean, I would imagine that you were pretty young at this time. So, you know, having a car, and you don't spend as much money as you would if you have a family and house and those type of things.
Yeah, as you said, you know, I was young, so I was just living my best life as a young hockey player. But yeah, a couple of guys with families, and as you said, you know, they been rooting in Östersund, as you say. So a couple of guys that are away from their families pretty much every second weekend.
Yeah,
and so
it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It is, and you know, a lot of time away from your family.
So when did you start thinking about, hey, I need to go back to school?
Probably I started to think about it probably my last year in Östersund, or like 5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
I started to think about what I wanted
What
to
you want to
do
do when you grow up?
exactly what I'm going to do when I grow up. No, but I started to realize that, hockey, I might have to do something beside just playing hockey, because there's a life after hockey, and started to just think about what I were interested in, or which way I wanted to go in life, basically.
Yeah. What and so how many of the people that you were in Östersund? You played 3 years in Östersund and then went to Ronneby. Is that a suburb of Stockholm, right?
No,
No.
Kallingrund is near Karlskrona in Blekinge.
Oh, you went from way
The-
up north to way
y-
down south.
Yeah, I did.
And then yeah, so were you traded there, or how did that happen? Or were you a free agent where you can kind of
Free agent. I wanted to move south to play in the Hockey and down south, because basically the division down there is pretty much uh, a higher level than up north.
yeah,
So I just wanted to try that out,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And then you ended up back in Härnösand a little bit with Sundsvall, and then sometime in there, that's when you said, "Okay, I'm going to go to school."
Yeah. Uh, as you said, the year 2021, that season, I moved back home to Härnösand. It was the COVID season.
Oh, COVID. So
Yeah,
this,
yeah. That's
so
that's why we only play like 6 games that year in Division 2,
I
and
see.
because they closed down the whole series.
It's an interesting phenomenon. I wonder how many people, that it. All right, people are sitting around. What am I going to do now?
Yeah,
All right,
basically.
am I
So
going?
that was I made that decision that to move home, to play back home for 1 year, and then things happen, and I was just like, from there I went to basically wanted to study,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
So the last 2 years you played Göta Traneberg, which is now that is outside of Stockholm.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much central in Stockholm, in Bromma.
Okay. Wow. So, and you are now, I'm going to switch here. So you are, okay. So you're going to Södertörn University. And this is what I want to, for people who are listening to this and they're in the US. And what I hear when I talk to people, they don't really understand the different SHL, Allsvenskan, Hockey Ettan, Division 2. Okay, they're getting a little bit of understanding from listening to this about the different levels of professional hockey. And then if you then parallel, you have gymnasium, which is sort of it's a little bit like high school, but you really go one more year than high schools here in the US. And it's sort of college prep or vocational or college prep. But university systems, there is no, so college hockey here, NCAA D1, D2, or ACHA D1, D2, 3, that there is no Swedish college hockey divisions or systems.
No, there isn't.
And there really not any college athletics like it is here in the US.
No, that's a big difference from North America. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you decide, okay, when people are going to college and deciding where am I going to go to college, how did you ended up searching out Södertörn University?
I went from the program I wanted to study, and the program, I think you can study in Stockholm and probably 2 or 3 different locations in Sweden.
Yeah.
and different. So basically, that the program and everything was pretty much where to set where I wanted to
And yours, you it looks like you have a so Södertörn, you have a so kandidatexamen is the equivalent of a bachelor's degree.
yeah.
Over here, it typically takes 4 years, but in Sweden, it's 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where kind of the difference because typically the gymnasium, which is the equivalent of high school, but it's really an additional 13th grade, so to speak, versus 12 grades in the US. But college, instead of here, it's 4 years. Over there, it's 3 years, and you could go another 2 years and get a master's.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is called instead of kandidat, it's what is the word for?
It is master.
So they changed it, but didn't they have like magister, or maybe that's PhD?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've been gone too long, so I don't.
Yeah.
But then you also it says here sports management. So you're doing both business and sports management 2 degrees, or how does that work?
It's 1 degree. The program called sport management. I studied the degree of Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, as you say it. But it's combined with sports science, business administration, and some law. Knowledge to be able to plan and organize and develop and lead sport organizations, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that if you break down the type of courses that you're taking there, probably a little bit different than a sports management degree would be in the US. I would say much more harder in Sweden, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the classes and those type of things. But but I think that this is a and it's a big contrast. And so I guess you're choosing that, and then but you're still playing. So now you're still playing Division 2, fourth. What's the difference between Hockeyettan and Division 2?
The Division 2 is not that much of, you don't have much of a structure when you play.
Still a pretty decent level of hockey, but
yeah,
not
pretty
as
decent
serious.
level, but it's more like back and forth.
And you're not traveling to Östersund.
No. Division 2 here in Stockholm is based just in Stockholm. My kind of division.
Yeah.
So just in the Stockholm region, which basically is a benefit when you know not traveling and everything like that. So,
but you're still working, right?
Yeah, still working part-time, a couple of hours a week, apart from my studies and the hockey.
Yeah, and so on. So let me contrast that. So who was it that you were talking about? So your buddy that went to play in the US. Let me pull him back up. And contrast, and one is not better than the other, but I think that the reality of it is that, and I wish I had the stats on this, of how few players that plays in the SHL, Allsvenskan Division 1, very few have a university degree. And often it's because there is no university right out of gymnasium in combination with hockey. And it's tough to break in and do it, to do that. Versus let me pull him up. Martin, what was it?
Mellberg.
So he was a year ahead of you, right? Or was he the same age?
The same age.
All right, same. So here's the contrast, and I'm not saying one is better than the other, but he played J20 National or J20 Super Elite, went and played a year 15-16 with the Lone Star Brahmas in the North American Hockey League. Really did well, 60 games, 42 points, not too bad playing and then he got a D1 offer, played American International College in the NCAA D1, and played 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
You still staying in touch with him?
Yeah, from time to time, yeah.
Yeah. What was his experience? So he's going over here, going to school, but really playing hockey while he's going to school.
Yeah.
How different was it from what you're going through and what he went through? Of course, he did it earlier in his career, but versus what you're doing now later.
Yeah, exactly. The big difference, as you said earlier, that the when you study in North America, the sport, hockey as we speak, are integrated in your school. You're able to study while you're playing hockey. So that's a big difference, and if you talk to him, if you ask him, I think he would say that those 4 years in college is his 4 best years, probably.
Yeah.
Not if you ask him, I think he would say that probably.
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to reach out to him now. I'm looking at LinkedIn and seeing kind of from a professional standpoint as well. Of course, he's been playing, as he played at a high level, played in Hockeyallsvenskan, and I believe you said he just retired, or
yeah, just retired. Yeah.
But I think that it's just contrasting the differences, and I think that it's so common. You are the anomaly to actually go back and play at the same time. And as you get older, it's so difficult to do that. And time runs away, and maybe you have a relationship and you get kids, and it makes it even harder. So versus, like Martin, perhaps it's a big mental, it's hard to make that leap at first, but once you're there, you're kind of going along, and then all of a sudden I've got my degree.
Yeah.
4 years goes by and you're still a young guy, and I don't know, both of you are going to end up fine. You're going to have college degrees, and you're smart people that have succeeded in life and in athletics, and sky's the limit from here. But I think both of you are the exception rather than the rule in Sweden. And for those that are listening in Sweden, I think that it's understanding how hard it is to break through, to make Hockeyallsvenskan, SHL, and how hard it is to actually go back versus, man, maybe I should just go and take that leap into North America.
Yeah, as you said, it's I think bottom line is that it's easier at a young age to combine your studies and competing at a real high level in North America than it is in Sweden to study and playing Hockeyallsvenskan or SHL. And that's, I don't know, maybe I haven't think about it, but it might be a kind of problem.
Well, and that's what I see. I see it as an opportunity, really, and I'm really curious to hear where the Swedish Hockey Federation is, and why isn't there a university system, especially when you've already had the NIU programs that does it in gymnasium and incorporates and so on. I don't know, maybe it's way too difficult, or maybe it's just bogged down in tradition, and there's not a market for it. But if you look at the university college hockey system in North America, and what it produces, and the number of NHL players that comes out of D1 colleges is enormous.
Yeah, it is.
And they're coming out with a college degree that nobody can ever take it away.
No, exactly.
So food for thought, maybe some more conversations to have with different people about that. To round out, last question here. So you are, let's see, you are, how old are you now? You're 27.
28, I think.
28.
Yeah,
All right.
28.
Oskar, you're meeting the 17-year-old guy that just came to Timrå. Yourself, except for you got 10 more years of experience in life. What would you tell yourself if you sat down now on the couch and you're saying, hey, I'm going to give you some advice? What would you tell yourself that you know now that you didn't know then?
Probably, I would probably say do enjoy your time even more, especially in the gymnasium. Try to just enjoy it more. Don't take everything so serious, probably.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, you're gonna face some difficulties during your time. You're moving from home. You're living by yourself. You're a young guy, so your time is gonna be tough. But try to enjoy it. I probably would have said.
Excellent advice. Excellent advice. And I've heard it before, and people get, you know, I actually had the same. I'm 48, so I'm 20 years older than you are. And I went through college way too serious.
Yeah.
And I wish I've got an 18-year-old son now and I'm allowing him to have more fun while still having goals and strategy. But, enjoy the ride is, I think, is we have the same feelings about that. Life's too short to not have fun.
Yeah, it is. I agree.
All right, well, you got one more year to finish your degree. You're going to do awesome. It's going to be interesting to see the next chapter of what happens. Congrats. I know you're right in the middle of you're going to start the third season here soon with
that's my plan, starting my third year.
I believe Elite Prospect has the big C on here too. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. I got the opportunity to wear the captain for the last season, so I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, well, you should be. You should be, and congrats with that. Good luck for the season coming up. Stay in touch, and we'll keep an eye on you.
Thank you so much for having me.